Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to be back online with you again this evening. Been a little while. Took my birthday vacation week, or I tried to take some time off. Ended up writing like a 6-page PDF about the battle royale between inflation and deflation. Anyways, you guys will get that in your inboxes soon. But nonetheless, we're back here live, ladies and gentlemen. Another beautiful day to be here with you. And what we're going to do, same as usual, just as we always do, at least for now, take a look at where Bitcoin is, because Bitcoin is our North Star and our guiding light in this market. When it moves, the rest of the sector moves. And that's important to recognize because this new form of finance has been having some fun playing with partners, Ethereum, and the whole suite of other kind of venture capital plays, or maybe even to simplify, or maybe to make it more complex, I'm not sure. The asymmetry that has such a beautiful potential for where we are. We land clear in the, I guess, again, the leading kind of light of our thesis here, which is Bitcoin, our collateral layer. Now, it was pretty funny. The last time I posted a video, I was like, Bitcoin's ready to explode. And I posted it here. It was like on the 22nd or something. I had a friend arrive. She landed on the 20th. Anyways, the market dropped. How much did it drop here? 18%. And there's a bunch of people like, oh, this didn't age well. Now, the funny part about this is that if you think about things in a very temporary manner, that's correct. But we, at least myself, let's just speak for me, I like to think, or maybe even better to say, one would like to think that paying attention to the macro perspective while also understanding the micro can be extremely advantageous. We start almost every episode with this macro viewpoint, and we've done that since the bull market started. We were looking for, or more so clearly, I guess, the market created a moment in history. It will be forever known as the pandemic. That was the very start of the bull market. Now, for a lot of people, it could have appeared as the beginning of the end of the last bull market. And for those of you that like studying philosophy, the idea of the alpha and the omega is, or I guess the universe and the fool, if you happen to like mysticism or the Kabbalah and maybe some Egyptian esoteria. But nonetheless, the beginning and the end are intrinsically related to one another. And the spring itself is highlighted by the end of a cycle. And it is usually also marked by an extraordinary amount of fear in the general populace. From every day after, though, we went upwards. Now, in other market cycles, if you look at 2008, 2001, the recovery was a little slow. I'm thinking recovery was faster this time, mostly due to technology. But this macro perspective allows us to go, here was the point. The most efficient point of entry was the moment marked by extreme hysteria, people running out to buy toilet paper. It's a great time to double down on pretty much any asset. You can go through and look at every single token that we're about to look at tonight. And yes, on March 11th, the day that the pandemic was declared by the WHO, that was the best time to start buying here on out for everything, like literally everything. It's a great lesson to learn, but as we get into the smaller time frames, and I'm starting to make comments about, is Bitcoin ready to explode? And Bitcoin price moves a little bit, but still within the range. And people are like, oh, that didn't age well, did it? It actually has aged extraordinarily well. The downside is a lot of people are focused on the temporary instead of the visionary. In the visionary, you have to include your macro cycle because otherwise all you're doing is seeing lines. And these can, I mean, it looks like a great mountain. This is like a painting of Mount Cherubi in South Africa. I don't even know if that's a mountain. I'm just making shit up. But the point, again, is that when we get this close, and I'm starting to use these 4-hour time frames, or sorry, I'm on the 6-hour, where all you can see is basically the last, year, you're ignoring a huge part of the story. Anytime you want to go out, do your study. Actually, sorry, it's only 86 days, a quarter. This is just a quarter of a year that we have in our vision right now. It's not until you see the whole thesis that these things make sense. So when we're looking for our North Star and we're trying to guide our ship into successful, profitable waters, knowing where we are in the market cycle is like hyper important, whether you're a venture capitalist, of just a general old investor, or a trader. I think predominantly knowing where you are in the market is extraordinarily valuable because it allows you to play a timely game. So Bitcoin actually still looks great to me, even though we did have approximately a quick 13% drop, at least on the area chart here before coming back up. Nothing changed. Now, again, we did see a really nice test of our kind of long-term trend line here and a little bit of a scare moment. But again, as we look closer, one of the unique things is that we have these tools called technical analysis, and this allows us to take a kind of a finer look. We had a big gap here on the volume profile, and we filled it and we accumulated back up. And now currently we're building a new area right here, and this is kind of the backup phase potential. We've gone over this a few times before as well. Nice shout out to Eric. Okay, Eric, that's going directly into Kiva. Thank you for the $500 super chat. You are a freaking gangster. Okay, back to the charts. So this $57,000 area is actually looking like our backup phase. And these backup phases have done this before, and we've talked about this. Oh, that's a little loud. We've talked about this where what we view phase C as is a spring at the top of the channel. So if you go to arcanebear.com, if you happen to be a member, you will, if you're not, you won't be able to view these, but I'm going to show you them right now. Under Den, we have the Wyckoff trading ranges. So we've seen this before where phase C actually springs into the middle of the box. It was one of the things we had happen with Ethereum, and we can go over that again. And it's drawn up here like this. But again, phase C and phase D this is like a footprint. Out in the wild, they always look infinitely different. I think the sentiment is that no river looks the same or is the same twice kind of idea, at least from a philosophical standpoint. So here, when we created this secondary dip, this was actually really healthy. The fact that we didn't get that in the previous trading range before just shooting up didn't feel great. But look how clean both of these trading ranges are. You have your buy and climax, your automatic rally, your jump, your break across the creek, boom, into the backup, and then bam. But we saw another trading range take place. And Bitcoin has done this before, and during that, we've gone over this. This is basically a repetition of something we saw in 2017, where we did see two big final step ups out of the trading range, and each time we've been bought right back up, right? With very little delay. Any supply that's there gets absorbed and repurchased, and Bitcoin gets put into long-term pockets. And we've seen this on multiple areas. So we've been looking at Glassnode's reserve risk ratio to kind of highlight some of this stuff as well. And what I like, well, first off, guys, for those of you that are here with us right now, I want to thank you. Give us a thumbs up. One of the interesting parts here is, just so you note, the thumbnails, I don't even know what Charles is going to do when he makes them. He just makes them, and I kind of make up a video, and I hope that they're kind of similar. This one was actually from a few days ago when the market was red. So if you're wondering why the screen's red and the market's not, it's because I just kind of run and roll with things and see where it takes me. Try not to think too much, but so the reserve risk is another way we've looked at this, and Glassnode provides a few more opportunities. I don't know why they're not loading right now, but I've said this a few times before, and I make a kind of an interesting joking sentiment around it, which is that we are around like 13/19 the way through the bull market right now, just a little way over half. And in 2017, this area here, I probably should have printed this out so I can draw on it, but nonetheless, where my mouse is right now, where you see all the kind of confusing data, approximately between, what was this, 2,300 and then again between 4,000 and 600, you saw these big step up gaps, and it represented kind of the middle and the finality of the bull market. After this is the face melting. And, you know, I've been talking about the face melting showing up, and people get impatient. You know, it wasn't enough that it was 100% here before it came back down and had a 30% retracement, right? And this is literally designed to shake out the finality of the weak hands before the price goes to these much more ridiculous highs. Now, we've talked about Bitcoin going as high as $280,000 in this next run. And I want to take the time to explain this because sometimes it seems so illogical that it might do that. If Bitcoin sells even a fraction of a Bitcoin, like a 0.0001 of a Bitcoin for $200,000, then that's where the price shows up. And that's where Chainlink ticks the price, right? So you don't need an entire Bitcoin sold at that price for it to go this high. And when the mania sets in, it gets dramatic. We've not reached peak euphoria yet. I can tell because I was just out, although we are close. We are so high right now. We got hired by NASA. Okay. Anyways, you should listen to Anderson .Paak Come Down if you want to listen to some dope music right now. Check out Anderson .Paak. Shout out to a great musician. So this height that can come in, how high we can go, becomes impressively high because all the big players are accumulating still here, right? Day over day accumulating hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin per month. And we've looked at some of this data. If you're in the private group, you'll know we go over some of this stuff. You can also, Glassnode has a bunch of really cool stuff. Definitely follow them as well. There's actually, I guess I do like Glassnode's work. They're amazing. But anyways, you can, we've gone over some of our favorites here. And what we like to look at and how we measure that risk that's currently on the market. And one of those is the exchange balance stacked. So when you jump on, and again, remembering what we're doing right now is we're using a very advanced thesis for basically measuring human psychology in supply and demand characteristics of a very limited supply asset. So because this asset is in limited supply, geez, too bad the internet's going so slow. What we want to do is pay attention to how much of that supply is on the open market. And on a day over day basis, all of that supply is being eaten up by big players. When you do that, the volatility actually increases and it becomes easier and easier for the price to go to these absurd highs because there needs to be very little buying pressure for that to happen. It's important to know that because the reason why we can get to such absurd prices is because all you need is one person selling and one person buying for the price to go that high. So if we, so it's actually the exchange balance, just the general percent that I like. I think it's a little clearer. And on a day over day basis, we have been only declining. That means Bitcoin is currently going into stronger and stronger hands. And as I zoom in closer and closer in this chart, you can see it has only been declining. Here, since the 20th of March, during that drop, an enormous amount of Bitcoin gets bought up off the open market from retail investors who have shaky hands, not recognizing that this market cycle takes time, and the higher it goes with the decreased liquidity, the more volatile it actually becomes. There's a moment in the finality of this bull market that is based off the fact that because there's so little required to buy and sell, only one person on either side of the trade to get the price to click at these ridiculous amounts. I'm not going to buy a Bitcoin at $280,000. So I kind of jokingly made a tweet today. It says, I'm selling what you're buying. And I also said, I'm buying what you're buying. That was my secondary tweet. You should definitely follow me on Twitter. I says, I'm buying what you're buying. And I also wrote, I'm selling what you're buying. And that's important to remember because when we get to those absurd prices and it's so unsustainable, you'll be able to see it in the volume. We'll be able to see it in the volume characteristics. All it takes is one big player to sell like 50,000 Bitcoin and the price just comes from $280,000 all the way down to like 100 and let's say 210 or something like that. If we get this ridiculous height. So because of that, because you need such little buying and selling pressure for it to have such a dramatic result when we get up there, not only can we go that high, but the recourse, the downside is so significant. And this is common. We've seen this time and time again, and it's something to pay attention to because it's really just human emotion. The price is going to drive up. People are going to think it's their last chance to ever get Bitcoin. They're going to sell. It'll take like just one seller to move like this entire market, and then everyone will start to close. Not everyone, but a lot of new investors will start to close out. You'll start to see a lot of longs that were leveraged out of their positions moved out. There'll be a talk of super cycle Bitcoin going to millions of dollars. But it'll be clear in the characteristics that that's not the case. So what we're going to continue to do is go over our North Star guiding light and then lean into the understanding that, look, guys, venture capital is amazing. Things like Avalanche, Ethereum, Link, MStable, Aave, Band, the FTX token, KNC, SNX, Balancer, Rook, Kava, Sol, OMG, GRT, Flow, Dot, Fetch, Matic, Seller, and One, and Sushi. This is venture capital. Everything else that I've gone over aside from Bitcoin is a shot in the dark play. But the upside is extraordinarily high. In 5 out of the 7 things that we have been going over for 2 years in our private newsletter all did over 5,000%. But it took 2 years to get there. A lot of you who are new here are going to be little babies, and you're going to forget to continue to show back up during the bear market. And we will still be here reading, writing, researching, or actually probably not in that order, excuse me, reading, which is basically researching, and then writing, and then talking. I actually like talking more than I like writing, but nonetheless, because of this, it's that value through time function that makes venture capital so extraordinarily rewarding. Because for 2 years, we talked about fetch and very few people listened. Now that the bull market is screaming, everybody wants to know everything about anything that they can get their hands on. Oh my God, there's this token, there's that token, there's Cardano and blah, blah. There's everything a bit. And that is how you know that we are about halfway through this, right? It's not just, we can measure it by looking at the buying and selling on Glassnode, the amount of the balance that's on the exchanges. We can literally see it. I got a message from a girl who I have not talked to since 2017 when I told her to buy Bitcoin then, and then she sold it again. I'm not sure. She asked me about student coin. She's like, it's going to blow up. Clear signals that we are not far from the end. Now, how high the end is, I'm not even going to try to wager a guess right now. When we get there, we'll fucking know, and that's as good as it gets. I'm not going to try to predict the future because that's just nonsense. That's not what technical analysis does. It gives us clear indicators when the market is over and when it's beginning. And it does that through 2 different angles. Again, the technical side and the physiological, visceral experience that you get from a bull market being at a top and a bear market being at a bottom or a spring. In either case, I guess one just happens to be an inverse spring. Anyways, I'm not going to go over the other venture capital plays tonight just because that would be a lot of talking. And generally, I hope that all of you are actually doing your homework. Remember, the disease and the sickness of the early investor and trader comes from over-emotional trading and investing, the lack of education, and I guess more and more so, the cure. It's the group and the community that hold people accountable for the work, the homework, or the work and the research that you're doing, because you might find something that I don't actually have on my table. Theta is a great example of this. Multiple private bear group members were accumulating theta because it was in a great technical position. And it just was not in my basket. I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the focus. And look how many other tokens that are already on the table came up to play. And theta was in a beautiful accumulation channel. So because of this, I always want everyone to be able to gain the fundamentals for what it is they're doing, so that what I share and I communicate as a value for you is to ultimately come to your own conclusions and your own decisions. Because this is not financial advice. This is entertainment. I'm entertaining myself by sharing with you my process. And it's been, from what a lot of you have shared with me, extraordinarily valuable for you. And it's been extraordinarily rewarding for me as well. So I continue to do that, but I wanted to make that kind of assessment here, because regardless of where any of these different plays are at right now, we want the investor to go through the process of learning the skill set necessary. So if you find yourself adventurous and you like trying new things, join the Arcane Bear private group by going to arcanebear.com/private. The links are down below, and give it a shot, because there's no risk right now or ever, because if you're not happy, we'll just give you a refund. So I think we've done a great job. We have an amazing track record. And if you're not happy, it's probably something to do with you. So do whatever you want. We'll give you a refund if you're not happy. Again, so here's theta in a beautiful widening megaphone pattern, very, very tight to the top of the range too. And then this beautiful trading range. And I know a bunch of you took this play back here in November because you were joining and you were studying and you were doing your own research and your own homework. And look how rewarding that has been for those of you that did that. And I had nothing to do with talking about data. All we did was show you the fundamentals of what to look for, how to play the game, and what to think about while you're playing. And look at this. Within a few months, I've gotten messages from so many of you who've done just extraordinarily well. 1,950%. That's amazing. And it had nothing to do with me. I love that. So do your own homework, because then you don't have to ask me where the tokens are. And if you join the private group, because that's the best way to learn how to do it. Okay, anyways, join our social media channels in the thingies down below here. There's a bunch of them. Twitter, I like Twitter. I like Instagram. I post funny photos, or at least I think they're funny. I'm probably not all that funny actually, but I think I'm funny. So there's that. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Thank you guys. Oh, cool. Look, the chat's on the screen now. Hey, maybe I could do a few minutes where I just talk to you guys, hey? I probably owe it to you. It's been like a week. Your thoughts on Hollow? I have no idea. You tell me. Make a chart, post it, share it on Twitter, and then I'll respond to that. That's my homework for you. Flute tonight. Ooh, hey, Alex. I think you're probably going to get the flute tonight. FN says, I found Theta from JSNP. Nice, great. Again, whatever piques your interest, I consistently try to remind people, like, do what you are interested in, because that yields great results. That's what I do. That's what I've been doing. So do that. I support this message. This message is approved by the Arcane Bear. Suggest some books. Okay, I just finished reading The Misbehavior of Markets by Benoit Mandelbrot. That's good. I really like Persuasion, The Psychology of Influence, and its sister or brother book, Influence, The Psychology of Persuasion by Robert Cialdini. I like all of Nassim Taleb's works, although it's not really a reading. I'd always like listening to Naval. I like hanging out and sitting and doing nothing, speechless with Naval as well. It's actually one of my favorite things to do with Naval is just sit and do nothing for fucking 4 hours. Nobody talks. Everybody sits with their eyes closed. That's been my favorite thing to do with Naval. So I don't know. It's not a book, but it's a suggestion, I guess, because you don't need a Naval or a book for that one. You can just sit with your eyes closed. I guess it's maybe more of a call to do meditation as well as reading. Oh, anyways, always a pleasure. Thank you guys. The Hertz frequency of your flutes is scientifically meditated. Okay. So I'm gonna play the flute. You guys always like music, and I appreciate this. I appreciate that we can be a philosophical wealth channel instead of just a wealth channel. So what I'm gonna do in the background is hopefully F sharp is F sharp drone. I don't know if any of you guys know what that means, but that's what I'm going to try to do right now in case you wonder why I'm not at that computer. Let's see. See if they're in tune. Is it in tune? Yeah, it's in tune! It's in tune. Okay, so check this out. Right there. Okay, hold on. Hold on, I should have faded that out better. Come on, be a DJ. Don't need to just stop it all of a sudden. Anyways, I could keep playing for like 15 minutes. But I don't know how well that would go. I mean, I could make it an extraordinarily long video. I can't keep talking, but I could keep playing. You guys let me know. We'll see how it goes. See if yeah, we'll keep playing. We'll play for like another 5 minutes. See how it goes. Thank you. You guys are awesome. Stay with the Arcane Bear. I'm glad we get to have fun, play some music together, and enjoy this beautiful thing we call life. Thank you for joining us. Remember to give us those thumbs up. And Knock, Eric, throwing down. Thank you for enjoying the music. I love playing. I appreciate that there's such a unique, that YouTube offers this unique experience for me as a creator and an individual to communicate with people around the world at like an instant moment. It is ridiculous to think how deflationary technology is. The fact that I can do this, you know, 170, 100, 200 people live listening to me play music. It's what a dream that is. 10 years ago, I thought a fucking ham radio was cool, or maybe it was longer. 15 years ago, I thought a ham fucking radio was cool. Now we got this, I can do this, and I can do that, and now there's a chart, and there's a thing, and there's an intro.